My friends, it is the start of a new year and the start of a new sewing space and filming area for me. I'm currently staying 1,000 kilometers away from my home, and what else is a traveling dressmaker supposed to do except set up a brand new space and make it look pretty, of course, for filming as well. For the first video back for 2020, I thought it would be really fun to show you around my new space here, what it looks like, of course, to show you, because you'll see the next several videos for the next month or so will be with this backdrop, and also what I brought with me. What are the things, the sewing things that I deemed essential that I must take with me for a working trip away to be able to sew with. So let me show you all the things that I brought with me that I consider essentials that I just cannot work without. And I know that you're probably all getting distracted by the custom Evelyn wood vintage sewing box over here, but I'll show you that at the very end. So make sure you stick around. Welcome back to my channel, my lovely ladies and gents. I hope you all had a fabulous Christmas and New Year break. This is my first video back for 2020, and I do hope that you enjoyed your break at the end of the year. As you can see, this is not my regular home. This is not my regular sewing space, nor my home. And it took a little while, but I've got everything set up now for both filming sewing lessons and for YouTube videos, and for sewing to actually do some beautiful projects that I have my heart set on doing while I'm up here. So I'm away, and I'll be working away from home for the next month or so, and so I've brought all the essentials with me to be able to both sew and to produce, you know, to film from as well. So I'm not also producing videos for YouTube here, but I'm also producing content and sewing lessons for Vintage Sewing School. Those of you that were with me last year, you will remember I launched online Vintage Sewing School. So this is my my own very little sewing club, and I have the best group of ladies there at the moment that are just all learning to sew and just achieving such great, wonderful things. It's been really amazing to get that group together and for us to learn and do all the fun things there. So I'm also producing most of my content is actually for Vintage Sewing School, hence why I've not only had to bring my essentials for sewing, but I've had to make it look pretty as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about at Vintage Sewing School and want to know more, I made this video at the end of last year, so please, the links are below to go and watch that one after this, of course. Okay, let's start the tour. Let me show you around. So, the only machines that I have with me are my, not my industrial, my domestic Brother sewing machine and my domestic Singer overlocker. Just the two. So I feel like I've gone back to the good old days where I just had only my two domestic machines. Obviously my big heavy industrial machines did not fit in my car to bring up for this little trip, so sadly they are at home. So I'll be working just with these. So it'll be quite interesting to only sew with my domestic machines for the next little while. So stay tuned for perhaps more tales of how that goes, of course. And now I have set everything up on this lovely table. This is a lovely sort of partner's desk. So it's beautiful, lovely wood, old style, drawers on either side, and you can fit, you know, people, I guess, from either side. It's a partner, so you can sew from each end. So I've had to put this wood top on top because it's actually a leather topped desk, and the leather was absolutely not going to cut it because I was going to cut the leather basically. It was getting scratched, dented. It was only a matter of time. It would have been absolutely trashed. So I have these two wooden panels on here. So this is two joined. Now, if you're doing something similar like this at home, I recommend definitely only getting like one piece of wood. I did two because I don't plan on like rolling out lengths of fabric on this and actually cutting out patterns or doing anything like that. This is really just my work surface to sew from, to do a little bit of pinning and cutting on refashioning items, things like that. So having this kind of dip here won't be too much of a problem. And we can use these as some shelving afterwards when I'm done for the next little while using them. So that's why I decided to go with that. So just in case you were thinking of doing something similar yourself, you do not want to have a seam here or a gap or a dip. No. I know you were distracted by the little green Phillips machine up here too. Now this was already here. I did not bring this one with me. This is one that is just for display. It's a little bit rusty, but it is beautiful, and it was found a little while ago, so it's been up here waiting for me for quite some time actually, so it's now part of my backdrop. I've obviously brought lots of different cones of thread with me for different colors. I have brought some of my most nearest and dearest sewing reference books because I just love referencing them for all sorts of things. So I brought just a few of my favorites there. I've got my basket. I actually have a few sewing projects in there to do, and of course some of my Monday mending is stashed up in there. I won't show you inside that. The only fabric I have brought is tiny little bits and pieces. I'm basically only planning on doing refashioning projects while I'm here, so I've just got little bits of different cottons that I think that I might use to either make bias tapes or some facings or a bit of contrast here or there. I've had to be quite restrictive and not bring, you know, mountains of fabric with me because it was just not going to work. So I've really had to restrict myself there with my fabric. And of course I brought my dolly with me. She is though a little bit wobbly these days. Hopefully she makes the trip, I should say, and she lasts a little longer. But of course you remember my beach pajamas. I know I have not edited the video for that refashion. It is still coming, I promise. It will come. It is a monumental video to have to edit those, so hence why I haven't done that yet. So you're probably thinking, brought all the little bits, let me show you. Okay, this is my main drawer here. I've put it to the side, so obviously when I'm sewing, you know, up here, I've got access to all of these things on my right hand, on my right side at all times. Let's have a look. I have a thread stand, I've got pencils, marking pencils, and also my tailor's chalk to mark things with, eraser. Of course, I have many different bobbins. I brought everything with me there. A loop turner, and my loop turner that I have turned into a poker, a pusher to pull out corners. Very high-tech item, that one. Of course, tape measure. I have two little pattern weights here, some of my favorite ones. Of course, I brought many unpicks and two snips. I like to have one at the iron, one at my sewing table. So I like to have two of each of those, and in case I'll probably, you know, blunting out at least one of these, unfortunately. Bare needles, different sizes, a few of my labels. If you are interested in having your own custom labels made, I made an entire video about mine here from the Dutch Label Shop. I'll link that video below, and you can also get a discount on your own order as well. They're a fantastic company, I recommend them. So of course I sew these into all of my clothes that I make and the ones that I refashion as well. It just is a nice finishing touch. It's like signing your name into your artwork. That's how I look at it. I brought every size bias tape maker I have, obviously. Different size needles, hooks and eyes, hand sewing needles I should say, some beeswax, my favorite giant big long pins, safety pins, some sticky tape, and guess what? Of course I brought my sewing machine manuals, because don't you take your sewing machine manuals and still reference them everywhere? So I have a bunch of buttons here. I have brought with me, I've actually already doubled my button collection size here. So I've already found about half of these at the thrift store while I've been away from home, which is not unusual, let's be honest. So I only brought a selection of things that I might use for some refashion projects I'm doing for Vintage Sewing School. So I had to be very limited with what I brought. So I only brought a few, but I have already, as I said, doubled that likely. So a few snap closures, you never know what you're going to need. I have brought a few different colors of rayon hem tapes. So I always put these in my hems of garments. I just like it. It's a nice vintage touch. darning mushroom, of course, some vintage ribbons, again, for projects I think that I'll be making. I've brought the colors I thought I'd need, and I brought quite a lot of pre-made bias tapes here for different things, again, projects I think that I'll be using, and ones that I don't know that I'll be working on, so I have every color. A few lengths of some elastic, just in case. A cotton cord, just in case. A few, just a few embroidery floss colors with me. I might do embroidery, I might mending, who knows? You never know. A few more different thread colors, and they just kind of roll around in this one, unfortunately. And of course, some interfacings and fusings, because everyone needs those. So originally I put all of my heavily accessed, all my, that first drawer I showed you, I had it in here because it seems like a good spot, right? Like I'll be sitting here and sewing, made sense. It made sense to me at the time, but then I realized I have a knee press on my machine, so it comes over and I'm sewing, and there is no way I can open this drawer all the time. So this drawer turned into just things that I won't use all of the time. So I have some lengths of piping. This is for some lessons I'll be doing in Vintage Sewing School for next month's content drop, actually. Some rickrack and some lace. I toyed up with like what lace would I actually bring with me. I wanted to bring all of my beautiful vintage laces, but I couldn't even, which one would I pick? I would have just brought all of them or nothing, and I basically chose nothing. So this is for something else. So again, more rayon hem tapes and more bias tapes. Because of course, if you like any of these products, particularly the rayon hem tapes, I do have a link below to some Amazon links where you can get these things from if you want to have a look at where you can get them yourself. So do check the description box if you're interested in seeing some of these products. Of course, I brought my grading, my pattern making ruler, because I could not live without this one. Okay, so I've pretty much shown you all the things now. My sewing machines that I brought, everything in the drawers here. I brought some other toile fabric as well around the other side. I don't think I really need to show you that. But I have my machines, my mannequin. I've shown you everything up here, everything inside. I have, of course, also brought my iron and my both of my ironing pressing hams have come with me. Look at this. Guys, I have a garden out here. Can you believe it? This is the first time I've ever had a garden, although you get the reflection, so I won't be able to film with it, unfortunately. Yes, for those of you wondering, I have brought my little Esme with me, so she is also here. I'm going to make her, I think, a really red velvet cushion. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then, I know you've been waiting, we have this. Oh my goodness. Yes, this is a custom Evelyn wood sewing box. Okay, let me explain. Now, this might quite possibly make me the envy of everybody out there, because I know I am just, yeah, so okay. This was, both this table and this box have been made separately for me from my handsome gentleman who crafted these for myself as gifts. I got them at separate times last year, but they're 1,000 kilometers away from my home, so I haven't been able to show you, use them, even look at them myself until I'm here. So this table is obviously an original Singer sewing machine table. The machine was beyond repair damaged, and he converted the tabletop and de-rusted and made all of this ironwork back to like this beautiful shiny black. And yes, it still treadles. It is so amazing. It is obviously in the Evelyn wood brand. And this sewing box, my goodness. So he hand painted all of this on. Look at this. This is an old Singer box. It is just remarkable. Opens out. You've all seen these before, right? But none that looked quite this amazing. I know, because there is only one of these and it has my name on it. I feel absolutely so lucky to have this, and I've been waiting for ages to show you. So If you know someone who's crafty, or maybe you're crafty yourself, just look at what magnificent things that you might be able to make out of beautiful old sewing boxes. This one was actually all burnt on the, this front side was completely all burnt, so he did a wonderful job in restoring this for me. I feel very, very lucky to have this, and I think it is perfect. Perfect for my backdrop, right? I know. I've actually never made a sewing space video in my actual home sewing space either. So if it's something you're really interested in, let me know, because when I go back home, I'll do a sewing space tour. I know a lot of people talk about going through their stashes and sewing the stash, but if I was to show you my stash of goodies at home, it would probably take me an eternity because it is quite large, and I will be downscaling very soon. So also, if that is of interest to you to see what I downscale and how I reorganize and shift down, let me know. Wait, I almost forgot to show you all the scissors that I brought. Last drawer, this one has all of my scissors. I brought my dressmaking shears. These are my my old dressmaking shears that I just kind of use for snips almost. My small embroidery scissors, cannot live without. My beautiful little stalk ones, some pinking shears, and this is a little device. I might show you that another time. It's a vintage like needle punch embroidery thing. I haven't worked out how to use it yet. That's what I'm hoping for some help with, so maybe another project for another time. And I always like to have a little cane basket to put all of my scraps in. Makes it quite easy. I look forward to reading your comments below. Tell me about what you think of the space, and tell me about your sewing space. What is in your dream, ideal sewing space? Do you want it to look pretty like a studio set? Are you waiting for big cutting tables? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you again so much for being here and being part of this fabulous sewing community that we have here. I always love reading your comments and knowing that you're here watching these videos and that I get to help and share my skills with you. I enjoy it so much. So thank you so much for watching and for being here, and until next time, bye.